feel as that music is being played, as they're pulling it from the music of the spheres, and that there's something about you that's actually a musical note, that every cell within your body temple is vibrating at a particular frequency. It's either a dirge or it's a moment of celebration. So you're coming into a community of celebrants of the Most High, celebrants of the divine, celebrants of life, celebrants of peace, celebrants of love, so that our entire body temple is vibrating with the music of the sphere, saying in substance that our life is divine, our life is whole. And this may, of course, not vibrate with your particular experience of life right now, which is why you are here, so that you can begin to transcend your experience of life and begin to have a direct encounter with life itself, which changes your perception and then ultimately allows you to be captured by a vision of that which is real, so that your life experience changes. In other words, we're keenly aware that we are not to live our life victimized by limited perception based on history, based on limited perception of what has happened to us, or anything whatsoever along those lines. We are here to understand that we are significant spiritual beings. We are significant spiritual ideas held in the heart mind of the infinite. But more than just the words that I'm saying, we are a community of practitioners, meaning not just theorists or academicians about God or about theology or about the laws of the universe. We are practitioners, meaning we practice these truths until they become realized within us, and then our life changes. Thus, when we hear the theme of the month, which is your perception of wholeness, and that it's always harvest time, we hearken back to Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, that said in substance that it is your perception of wholeness that is the consciousness and that heals, that as your perception expands to be able to see and feel and catch wholeness and vitalizing beauty and joy and harmony, that perception becomes a healing balm wherever you go. Today, of course, we would understand that even the word perception is limited. So we like to say that your perception of wholeness via spiritual practice yields to vision. And I'm not talking about just a limited vision of what you think you might want. I'm talking about through spiritual practice, there are moments where the luminous vision of reality takes over your existence. I can think about a number of times in my life where I was captured about the vision of beauty and love and harmony and wholeness that is everywhere in its fullness, that every blade of grass, every tree, every sentient being is vibrating with the light and the luminosity of the living one, which caused the Jesus the Christ to say, if I do not find one worthy, I can command the rocks to shout out my name. My nature, my vibration, my frequency, that all of life is teeming with the beauty and the love that is everywhere. There are moments in which time stops, or of which you are lifted beyond time and space through spiritual practice, mind you, or grace of God. We were captured by a vision of such luminosity and such beauty and such joy. Sometimes you may remember in your own life where you've seen perhaps a birth of an infant in your life, where everything stopped and all you saw was beauty. Or you were captured by something in Mother Nature, and you became aware that there was no time, there was no space. All you saw was the beauty of God that was everywhere, and it penetrated your consciousness, and it stopped you short in your tracks, and all of the ruminating about your to-do list, and all the ruminating about your fears and worries and doubts and traumas and dramas and all of that just seemed to dissolve in a moment. That was a moment in which you were captured by a vision, you see? And so our spiritual practice is yielding itself from perception to vision, with the awareness that it's always harvest time, which means every thought you have is registered in the Akashic record, which is a compendium of every event, every thought that is ever had throughout the cosmos, throughout the universe, throughout all time immemorial. Every thought is captured in a compendium called the Akashic Records, vibrating at that particular time, and it is harvesting. It is producing something. And so we become aware that every single moment of our life, it's harvest time. We are curating a thought, a feeling, an emotion, a perception, a sense of point of view, a positionality, a perspective that's being registered right now according to your Akashic record. And so this leads us to an awareness that we're harvesting something right now. As you're listening to me speak, and you may have particular issues that you're dealing with. We may have universal issues. We're having planetary issues. We're having issues right now about war and rumors of wars right now. As you're listening to me speak right now, and then more importantly, as you're listening to what I'm listening to, and you're being captured by the feeling tone of potential and possibility, the Akashic record is registering a sense of hope, a sense of possibility, a sense of peace, a sense of joy, and it has nothing to do with any external condition or circumstance or situation or person or place or thing. You're being lifted above your limited perception, and you're beginning to harvest right now something where your body temple is beginning to reflect a timeless beauty of the body temple, ageless beauty, timeless mind. Right now, just you feeling into what's being heard right here and right now. And so this moment, ask yourself, what am I harvesting? All you got to think about is, what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about right now? What are you worried about right now? What is your opinion about something right now? Is your opinion of separation? If your opinion of I'm right and they're wrong. If you're in that dynamic of separation, then of course you are curating into your Akashic record a sense of separation, of which your body will register as time, of which you will be speeding up your aging process, even if your opinion is so-called right. If it is in the frequency of separation and righteousness, then you're in time and you're getting old right now. However, if you're coming into the frequency of love and peace and harmony and wholeness, if your perception is yielding to you being willing to have a vision of that which is real and eternal, God is everywhere. Real and eternal. Peace is everywhere, except where it's being limited by perception, limited by point of view, and limited by self-righteousness. Peace is everywhere. If in fact or in truth you're expanding your awareness through spiritual practice, sacred intentionality, yielding, surrendering to more good than you could possibly imagine, coming unto the law of grace, oh, your body temple is saying, whoops, I become timeless. What's happening? Why am I becoming younger? I'm supposed to be getting older, but I'm becoming younger. Why is that happening? Why is that happening? Forget about the why, understand the what. God is timeless. God is eternal. God is love. And now you're yielding to a vision through spiritual practice and coming to an understanding, as the topic would indicate, you are one of one, and you are never done. This is extremely important in spiritual awareness, that you're one of one, meaning that the Spirit of the living God never repeats itself. All of you around the globe, just repeat after me. Even a few of you in the sanctuary say God never repeats itself. God never repeats itself. God never repeats itself. Now, you need to understand this, because the presence of God is infinite. Now, the surface mind can't even comprehend infinitude. The surface mind thinks that infinite is a lot. You know what I mean? It deals with a linear, a lotness. But infinitude, oh my God, you can't even catch that mentally. No beginning, no end, everywhere in its fullness. And so this presence of love and beauty and intelligence never repeats itself, which means each and every one of us are not one of 7 or 8 billion. That would be a linear concept. No, it's one of one. You are you, and there's no one else like you. So you are one of one. Say, I'm one of one. I'm one of one. I'm one of one. So even if an individual is a triplet or a twin or a quadruplet, you're still one of one. There's no one else exactly like you. And so therefore, as you begin to meditate upon this, you begin to touch into your incomparability. You are beyond compare. Now, when you have that as an insight and a revelation, you do not put yourself in comparison hell. Now, comparison is a hell. When you compare yourself to someone else, oh, I don't have as much money as so-and-so. I'm not as tall as so-and-so. That would be me. I'm not as, whatever, however it is you compare yourself. Comparison is only to be used as inspiration. In other words, you can see someone living a life of beauty and of ecstasy, of joy, of prosperity, of health, of love, whatever the case may be, but you're not to compare. You're just to see the energy of that beauty in that other individual and let it inspire you to be more you. Not to compare yourself to them, because that could bring you down. Oh my God, I ran into so-and-so, and they're doing so well, I'm not doing so well, and then you begin to bring yourself down and begin to beat yourself up. I can remember when my father was raising 3 children, 3 boys. I have 2 other brothers. He was a probation officer. He went back to Washington, D.C., of which we were from, and he had seen his fellow people had gone on and gotten their degrees and had gone on and done what they wanted to do. And he came back and he was inspired. And so he went back to law school. He went to law school. He was the oldest individual in his law school. Ultimately became an attorney, had a very fine practice, and retired as a judge. He did not compare himself to the individuals that he had seen growing up in high school and college. He used it as a point of inspiration and began to remember his own dreams and visions of possibility. And he didn't put himself into comparison hell. Oh, they're doing so well. They're doing so good. I have a wife and 3 kids, and I'm a probation officer. I'm barely making it financially. He said, oh, no. There's something within me that wants to be set free. He went to law school. He graduated. He passed the bar. He and his lawyer partner had a wonderful practice. As a matter of fact, as a side note, there were 3 people in the practice. And the one who had the most win-loss cases was a gentleman in his practice that used to pray before every case. Clients would come in. He would say, do you mind if I pray? And the client would say, okay. And he would pray, and then he would take the case, and he had the most one loss, and my father had the second, the other guy had the third. And my father said, there's something to this prayer thing, huh? Anyway, ultimately, he retired as a judge, and so Judge Beckwith did not compare himself to the individuals that he saw when he went back to Washington, D.C. He stayed out of comparison hell and moved into an awareness that there was something about him that was to be inspired by other people's success. You are incomparable. You are one out of one, and you are an incomparable being. So when you see your mind start to go down that track and that trail and ultimately that trap of comparison, catch it. And instead of comparing yourself to someone else's success, instead, use it as inspiration. You see, use it as inspiration. And then, if you get caught up in the vibrational frequency of doubt and worry and fear and emotional negativity and mental negativity, you're going through stuff. Don't suppress it. Don't repress it. Don't sublimate it. In the yogic practice, every single energy that you're going through is to be used as grist for the mill in order for you to grow, develop, and unfold. So when you're caught up in the stank and the stink of stinking thinking, you get caught up in that, oh, it's not my fault. Everything is going wrong, but it's not my fault. That thing that happened when I was 6, and it's their fault. And, stop your warped thinking. It's warped. If you go into that, it's not my fault, you will become a master of excuses. Instead of becoming a master of transcendence, you become a master of excuse making. You have all your excuses lined up. Well, this happened when I was this time. This happened when I was that time. And this person said that to me. Made me feel really bad at myself. And then you'll end up having the greatest excuses in the world. Why aren't you happy? Well, when I was 10, the teacher told me I would never amount to nothing. And for some reason, I believed her. You will just create excuses. Instead, take that stuff and use it. 3 levels of motivation can come through that as you curate the frequencies of not my fault, all the stuff that your emotions go through. First level of motivation is I'll show them. Use it to motivate you. Oh, they don't think I'm going to amount to anything? I'll show them. Use it. Use all that negative energy to move forward, to take baby steps in the direction of your vision, in the direction of your dream. Use it. But don't stop there, because that's the lowest level of motivation, because it creates the pollution of separation. I'll show them. Still creates separation, becomes pollution. Instead, you keep on going, and then the next level of motivation is I'll do it for them. I'll do it for my family. I'll do it for my ancestors. I'll do it for my mama. I'll do it for my, you're doing it for someone, which is less pollution creating than I'll show them. But still, it can lead to burnout. It can lead to martyrdom. I'm going to do this for my family. I get tired. I get burnt out. Oh my God, you see. And then, if you keep going, it translates into a higher frequency. I'm doing this to activate the potential that's within me. I'm doing this because I'm called. There's a calling on my soul. I must activate my potential. I must be the best version of myself. I must answer the call of greatness within my soul. I'm not doing this for anyone but the soul of my soul of my soul. Now, there's no pollution there. There's no, I'm doing it to prove it to somebody. I'm doing it for somebody. No, I'm doing it because I can't help it. I got to do it. I've got to answer the call. I've got to say yes. I've got to yield to the unfolding good that is within me. No pollution, you see. And then you begin to break free from the awareness that good enough is good enough. No, good enough ain't good enough. You know what I mean? Sometimes you'll do things in your life and you'll say, okay, that's good enough. I did it. You know what I mean? But you didn't really do your best. You just did it good enough. I remember when I was going to high school, I was about 15 years old. I had a job at a bakery. And so I had this job before school started, before I'd get to school, before I'd have track practice, and then track practice a little bit before classes, track practice after. And I had this job because I liked money in my pocket. You know what I mean? And I like to ask my dad for the money. He hadn't gone to law school yet, Anyway, it's not extra. And I can remember I was the person that had this scraper, and I had to scrape the old bakery stuff and the crumbs and stuff off the floor. I had to get on my knees and scrape this thing. And, I did it good enough, And one day the owner called me in and said, "You're good enough, ain't good enough." Now, he didn't say that in those words, but that's how I took it, because I was just doing good enough. And he fired me. And I went home, I didn't feel good about it. I got fired from a job, you know what I mean? I didn't want that on my Akashic record, Anyway, I went back the next day and said, "Give me another shot." And he did. And I can remember, no one cleaned that floor better than me. I'm talking about, I had that thing, and I would be going in there, and he came in and looked at the floor and said, "This floor's never been this clean." You know what I mean? I went way above what he was asking for, but when he said, in substance, my good enough wasn't good enough, it challenged me to the point where I just wanted excellence. And a part of that habit then transferred over to my track practice, it transferred over to other areas of life. We want to live so that we're not saying that's good enough. Your spiritual practice, well, that's good enough. I did a little bit of meditation today. That's good enough. I did a little study. That's good enough. I did a little prayer. That's good enough. What? No. Good enough ain't good enough. You want excellence. You want to wake up. You want to have the brilliance of luminosity flow through your awareness. And as I stated in my book, Spiritual Liberation, you want to wake up with the same passion that an individual whose hair is on fire is looking for a lake. That's a lot of passion right there. You see? And so if you walk with that kind of awareness, then you're good enough ain't never good enough. And then not that you beat yourself up when you're having a day that's not as good as a day previous to that day. I'm not talking about flagellating yourself. That came into popularity a number of years ago when people were trying to get close to God through superstitious means. No, we're not talking about beating ourselves up when we're having an off day, because every day is a little different, but you always do the best that you can every day, even though this day may be better, may be different than yesterday, and may not be as good as tomorrow. But good enough ain't good enough. You always, whatever your best is in that moment, so that when you're giving yourself over to affirmative, activated prayer, and I have to say activated because it's not just mouthing words. It's actually seeking to come into a level of coherence around the fundamental reality of pure spirit. And that the words become an outpicturing of your connection with the presence of God, you see? So that you're good enough becomes pristine and beautiful. And it begins to carry like a momentum in every area of your life. You don't brush your teeth saying that's good enough, hopefully. We'll be able to tell if we hug. You don't just take a shower, that's good enough. I'm out. No. You put a little soap on that washcloth. In the African-American community, we use washcloths. Anyway, I just say that because sometimes I'll go to hotels outside the country in Europe, and they don't, guys don't have washcloths. No, we don't use them. What? What are you talking about? Anyway, that's a whole nother subject. Anyway. Okay, I'm a nut. Listen. Say to yourself, my good enough must be the great every day. And every day is going to be different. Your spiritual practice, whatever you're called to do on a particular day, it's not just good enough. When that man fired me, he gave me a good blessing. I couldn't sleep with it. I got fired? What? For cleaning up a bakery floor? I couldn't even have a job? Cleaning up a bakery floor? No, I got to go back. He gave me a great, great blessing in my life. So that you're good enough. That's good enough. No, that kind of good enough ain't good enough. And then, all of our work, I'm talking about prayer, affirmative, activated prayer. I'm talking about life visioning. I'm talking about sacred service. I'm talking about high and holy fellowship. All that we are called to do. Matter of fact, just take a breath here. Is to begin to heal the mental negative bias that the mind has. In the world, because of how we've been bombarded from the time we came out of the womb with what to be afraid of, whatever's going on in the world at that particular time. It's always the best of times and the worst of times. Whatever time in human history it is, it's always the best of times and the worst of times. Korean War, Vietnam War, war in the Middle East, war in Africa, economies up and down, depression, whatever. It's always the best of times, the worst of times, because there's always possibility and there's always people experiencing. There becomes a propensity for the mind to have a bias towards negativity. That is, what to be afraid of. Looking for what to be afraid of. Looking for what to be afraid of, the fear, doubt, and worry. Our work, our inner work, is to develop a bias towards possibility, a bias towards beauty, a bias towards love. You can find any time in the world, whatever is going on, you can find examples of loving, examples of mending of hearts, examples of healings when there wasn't supposed to be, examples of remissions when everybody said it was impossible, examples of deep and abiding forgiveness. I said in the earlier service, it came to my mind that when Nelson Mandela was being inaugurated to be the president of South Africa, sitting beside him at the table, at the banquet, during that particular time in human history, was the guard that dehumanized him while he was in prison. They used to bury him up to his head in the ground. And if he asked for water, this guard would urinate on him. You're thirsty? Okay, take this. That man sat next to Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela had that man sit next to him during that time as an overt, conscious act of forgiveness, amends, so that he would not build his country on hate and separation. He had a bias towards possibility. That's hard. Who could do that? Who could really do that? This man who abused him as many opportunities as he could while Nelson Mandela was in prison for trying to free his nation from apartheid. It was Nelson Mandela that did that. And the frequency is in the Akashic record for all of us. In other words, the vibration of that act is in the newest sphere of the planet. It's still vibrating. The same way that Gautama Buddha's teaching of enlightenment is still vibrating. Jesus the Christ's teaching of salvation and unconditional love is still vibrating. Kuan Yin, compassion, still vibrating. Mother Teresa, compassion, still vibrating. We can go down the list of anybody. Walter Russell's mysticism still vibrates. It's still there. It's in the Akashic record, and it's in the new sphere of planet Earth because these individuals were earthlings. So we're like our hair on fire looking for a lake, seeking to have a bias for possibility. Now this is very important because we're living in a moment right now where we have wars in Africa, we have Middle East, and the opinionated mind is going to look for what side to be on. It's only natural as human beings. We can justify, have opinions. I know the historical aspect of what's going on in the Middle East, way beyond what the Western world would ever want you to even think about. But I have to put my opinion to the side and stand in an awareness of a sense of oneness and unity and call forth a dynamic feeling tone of peace. I have to curate my mind to possibility where it seems intractable, where the bestiality and the barbaric hate and the killing of civilians on seeming both sides are going on. I have to hold the space of divine love and peace. Somebody's got to. If not, you'll be pulled down in the swell of Western media, pictures of negativity, and you'll split yourself. And you'll be right and justified in whatever side you choose. But you'll be no earthly good for peace at all. We have to have a bias towards unity. a bias towards peace, a bias towards love. And peace isn't the absence of conflict. Peace is the dynamic of harmonizing good. It's an essence of God that Jesus said they know not what they do. The best case of it's not what they do to you is how you respond to it. He rose. Anyway, can't touch this. I'm eternal. Buddha, poison, Jesus crucified, Socrates. We can go down the list. Everybody who stood against the status quo and said there's something better, Galileo, everybody was demonized at some level. It's better to be demonized by a stand of truth than to go to hell on your opinion. Because this incarnation, it is brief, baby. You're going to be here 70, 80, 90, 100, maybe 127 years. Because the body's, loaded and coded DNA to go at least to 125 with proper nutrition, proper exercise, proper thought, proper meditation, proper food. It's not just going to happen because, you got to actually not eat fast food. You know what I'm saying? And other stuff that, is basically makes you weak. But even 125 is short. And so you are living to bring the eternal into time now. What you're feeling right now is being registered. Don't be a hater. What you're feeling right now is registered. Listen, here's the law. If someone does something bad to you, or if someone says something bad about you, and you're absolutely justified to perhaps do something bad to them or to say something bad about them. But the law doesn't suspend itself and say, that thought you have about them, it's justified, so we're going to give you a pass. No, it doesn't. It just says that thought you're having right there, doesn't matter where the Genesis is. That's now in the compendium of your Akashic record, and you're harvesting that energy right now. Yeah, but they did that. Yep, doesn't matter. You're still harvesting it. That's why every single teaching with heart has forgiveness in it. So that you're not harvesting what someone else has said or done to you. You're putting yourself in a position to live under the law of grace, and ultimately you become untouched and unoffended by what they may call you. Don't answer if they don't call you by your name. Don't answer. Answer the call of God's name in you. I am life. I am beauty. I don't care what you say about me. I'm joy. I don't care what you say about me. I am love. I don't care what you've done. I am peace. I am wisdom. I am inspired intelligence. I am that I am. And then watch your upside down world turn right side up. Watch the mending of your soul become a perception and then a vision of wholeness that your body temple will follow. In other words, for your mind and your assets will follow. I had to keep you on the edge of your seat on that one. He's what? Assets. For your mind and your assets will follow. But you got to free your mind, you see. Now, it's going to be popular right now to jump on this side or that side, and there's historical points of view that you can curate. I know I can. But what's going to help? We're holographic expressions of the infinite, which means we're what looks like a piece carries the whole. So each of us as individual expressions of God are connected to the whole and represent the whole, and we're all connected to each other. Which means anywhere you're on the planet, if you can come into harmony with wholeness and love, you're affecting the entire planet. So right here and right now, we're affecting what's going on in Africa. Right here, right now, we're affecting what's going on in the Middle East. Stay away from the pictures of the news. Don't do that to your mind. Give yourself a few days so that you can go in. Peace, be still. Let a miracle happen. Let someone's with sanity make a different choice. No more barbarity. Someone make a different choice. Begins with each and every one of us. Barbarity, collateral damage. There is no such thing as collateral damage. Every single being is precious. Doesn't matter. Every single being is precious. You don't want on the karmic stain of celebrating someone else's demise. You don't want that stain on your karmic record. You don't want it. This is why regularly I will disavow certain things that our government does. Because I'm not a part of that karmic. I didn't kill Lumumba in Africa who was democratically elected. The CIA did. I'm not into that. I'm not one with all the ways that we have killed people and put in our own dictators. I disavow. I love the idea of the United States. We should try it. And when the nations mature, to not just be number one, but to be one with the one. Now maturity is happening, you see. But citizens have to rise up in that frequency, or else you'll get caught up in pseudo-patriotism and just be a puppet on the string of people who don't even care about you. Spiritual people, you are the hope of the nation. You're the hope of the planet. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about people who are coming to an understanding of having a vision. People who are understanding that it's harvest time every moment. People who are understanding that they are one of one. There's no race that's monolithic. All black people aren't alike. All Jewish people aren't alike. All Mexicans aren't alike. All white people aren't. No, there's no one monolithic. We're all individual expressions, seeing different perspectives of reality, opening up to see the great God everywhere. So we keep rising. Keep rising. Keep rising. Unique expressions of the infinite. Bringing our best every day. Developing a bias towards unity, even when it seems silly. People said Nelson Mandela was silly. It was stupid. Why would he have that guy at the banquet? He planted something as a seed within the consciousness of humanity. What are we planting? And what are we harvesting? What are we planting? And what are we harvesting? What are we planting? And what are we harvesting? We are one of one. You live your life fully. Oh my God. There's a calling on my soul. I've got to answer. I've got to answer. I've got to answer. I think I better stop. In other words, we're going to stop and pray. We're going to stop and pray. Now, prayer is not anemic. It's not, oh, I'm praying. Oh, I'm praying to God. No. Prayer is fire. Prayer is dynamic. Prayer is, I'm turning within to have a realization, a connection. Oh, an encounter with the divine, so that it becomes more real to me than the very chairs you're sitting on. I'm having an encounter. Oh, I'm telling you what I know. I've had some encounters. Could not deny the light. It was so bright. Could not deny the love. It took over my life. Oh, I remember this. It's coming into my mind as I was speaking about my dad. I can remember sitting in meditation. This was pre-Agape. I was a licensed spiritual practitioner for 7 years. I don't know why I did this. 7, 4 plus 3. I was sitting in meditation. All of a sudden I started crying. But the tears weren't coming through my face. They were coming in my chest. And it was just like this fountain of tears flowing through me. And it went on for a period of time, and then it ceased. I just felt different. But I didn't know what had changed. I went to my dad's house to visit him, and when he opened the door, it was like, woof, what happened to my dad? He's changed. My dad was a good family man, but he was emotionally distant. He was cool, you know. And he just seemed to be the most loving being on the planet. I remember following him into the kitchen. It's like, what's going on with Dad? And I watched him prepare something to eat, and we were talking. And after a while, I realized my dad hadn't changed at all. My perception had shifted. I began to see the love underneath all of his actions. Now, his personality construct may have been what appeared to be emotionally distant, but the vibration under him was this total feeling of love. It's like, wow, what changed? I had changed. Because I had seen him through the eyes of Ozzie and Harriet and Bill Cosby. Well, the previous Bill Cosby. But even then, we don't know the backstory of that. Because, there was a whole bunch of stuff he was trying to do that they tried, Anyway. But then I could look at, I didn't want to be that kind of person, so I became more touchy-feely, more huggy, more open, and more available. But I remember in that moment of meditation, something changed. Before I was blind, now I see him. And it changed my relationship with him all the way to the day he made his transition. I didn't care about his fake growling and his fake trying to be, whatever, don't hug me. I saw through all that nonsense. He was a teddy bear. That's all that I saw was teddy bear dad, you see. And so we are open and receptive in this moment to being grateful that we're alive right now. Someone say, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I exist. I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful that I'm more awake than I've ever been. So in this consciousness of gratitude and thanksgiving and dynamic appreciation, now we're seeing differently. We're not just seeing through a glass darkly, Reverend Joanne. We're seeing the presence of God face to face. God is everywhere. Life is everywhere. Love is everywhere. Beauty is everywhere. Joy is everywhere. Oh my God. Recognition. And the sense of recognition yields to a sense of unity. My life is divine. I did not create myself. My parents may have gave me the entry into the human incarnation, but I've emerged from the eternal. I'm alive. I'm life itself. I'm one of one. And from this consciousness of oneness, the very word that I am speaking is the word of God. I speak it with the authority of one knowing that all that there truly is God, and that everything that truly is a manifestation of the only thing that truly is. I speak the word for each and every one of us that we may be free, that every organ, action, function of the body, temple, may be full to overflowing with life, and more life. The eternal breaks into time, and there is wholeness and the revelation of healing and abundance and harmonizing prosperity and the feeling tone of all needs met, opulence and flowing through us right now. We must give it permission. Let's give it permission. Say, I give myself permission to be whole. I give myself permission to be prosperous. I give myself permission to be successful, come what may. And it's happening now. It is from this consciousness of the all good that we revel in the feeling tone of all needs met. Feel that. Oh, help them. Help them feel it.
Come to this infinite mind. 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 Infinite mind. Infinite mind. Just be love. Just be the 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 love.
Just be the love to the best of your ability every day, giving your best, shining your best, glowing with your best.